Greetings, YouTube! The Doctor is in. Dr. Urias Papers here, coming at you with another commentary on Dungeons and Dragons, and we are going to talk about our new build that we have here called the Pneumatic, which is a Heavy Crossbow build Fighter Ranger that we're putting out there. We're going to talk about all the things that have to do with this character build and as it goes with the Heavy Crossbow. And of course, this is going with our push weapon mastery builds themselves. So, lots to go over, lots to talk about. Stay tuned and don't go anywhere. Alright, before we begin, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. If you like this video, hit the like button. If you have any questions or comments, please leave a question or comment. Don't forget to share this video, and don't forget to hit that notification bell. And I do want to say a few words about the two adventures I have written, 5th edition ventures that are in Dungeon Masters Guild. Links can be found below. We got Vault of the Worm for 3rd level characters, Painted Rock for 4th level characters. We will have more that will come out either on ttrpg or they will be on Dungeons Masters Guild, but stay tuned for more. Alright, let's get into the build. Of course, this goes along with the push mastery because heavy crossbows have the push weapon mastery on them. And for this one, it's all about get back. It's about getting pushed back, don't come near me. I'm going to do a bunch of damage to you. I'm going to control you. This particular build, of course, goes great with other party members who have area of effect things, for instance, spike growth or walls of fire, walls of thorns, spirit guardians, all that stupid business, you know, where if you enter this on a turn, there's a whole bunch of bad stuff that you're going to happen, and the Pneumatic can push them right back into all of it. So they work very well with other team members. We are going to do this build all the way out to 16th level. It is a Ranger Fighter build. And when I say that, I really mean Fighter Ranger build. It is mostly Fighter. Okay, so let's get to the first slide on here. For the race, we are picking the Frost Giant Goliath. And here's the character class right here. Here's the sheet from Dungeons and Dragons D&D Beyond, all the way out to 16th level. So we've got a Fighter 13th level, Ranger 3rd level. And let's talk about the race. The species that we're picking, or the race that we're picking, is the Goliath. Humanoid, speed of 35 feet. That's really important. Goliaths actually start out with a really good speed. They have the giant ancestry. So let me blow this up just a little bit here so you can see it. There we go. So I can see it a little bit better. So you get the giant ancestry, which gives you a supernatural boon from your ancestry, which you can use a number of times equal to your proficiency bonus before you do a long rest. And we're taking the Frost's Chill for the Frost Giant, which means when we hit a target with an attack roll and deal damage to it, we can also deal an extra 1d6 cold damage and reduce its speed. I like that one because if we're going to push things back, we don't want them coming forward. So we're going to reduce their speed when we do this, and it's until the start of your next turn. Basically, their turn is going to be hindered by this. Then we get the large form. We can become large. That's not really a big deal, other than it gives us an extra 10 feet of speed. And we get the powerful build. That's pretty good if we get grappled. So that is the race/species that we're taking. We're a proficiency bonus of +2. We are taking the Wayfarer background, which gives us insight and stealth. That's what we chose for training or proficiency for skills. We're going to be really good at stealth because this is a dex-based character. And then we're taking the Lucky Origin feat. We're taking +2 to dex and +1 to wisdom. We're using the standard array this time. We could use the point buy, but we decided to use the standard array, so I'm going for a strength of 13, a dex of 17, a con of 14, intelligence of 10, wisdom of 12. We'll get the wisdom up later on, and a charisma of 8. So we want the dex to be as high as possible. We're not going to be really using a lot of spells from the Ranger list that are going to require saving throws. So the Wisdom thing is kind of there. We're taking studded leather armor, a longsword just to have a weapon, a heavy crossbow, of course, explorer's kit. First level, we're a fighter with a 15 armor class because of the studded leather and the +3 from the dex. We get the archery fighting style, which gives us +2 to hit with all ranged weapons. So let's take a look at that. That is going to be here. So we get all this stuff from the fighter. And let's make sure this is all blown up. It sure is. And we get the fighting style, we get the second wind, and we get the weapon mastery. So the fighting style, like I said, we took was archery. And if we go over to the feat section, archery will be in here. Here it is right here. And you get a +2 to attack rolls you make with ranged weapons. A heavy crossbow is a ranged weapon. So that is the thing we will be using. We get second wind, and if you didn't know, here it is right here. So you get some healing as a bonus action. Right now, as a fighter, we can use second wind 2 times, but the 2024 edition allows you to actually increase that number quite a bit. So you can use it later. And there's some other things that fighters can use with their second wind. So we get hit points equal to 1d10 plus our fighter level, which is not too bad. We can use this twice. And we gain it back after a short rest. We get 1 use after a short rest. And then, like I said, you get it. And then we get weapon mastery. So what weapon masteries are we taking? We are taking the one for longsword, heavy crossbow, and hand crossbow. So if we look over here at the equipment section here, a longsword gets the sap ability, which gives disadvantage to the individual that we hit on their next attack before the start of our turn. We took the heavy crossbow, which gives us push. So if we hit, we push a creature 10 feet away if it's large or smaller. A lot of this pushy stuff kind of falls apart with huge creatures, so we do have to keep that in mind. And we took a hand crossbow, which has Vex, which means we have advantage on our next attack roll. Just, you know, it's there if we need it, if we need to use it. Okay, and here is our average aim. We got a heavy crossbow +7, 3 from Dex, 2 more from proficiency bonus, that's +2, and then 2 from archery makes it a +7. So they actually get a very good bonus to hit right away at first level. It does a d10 +3, 3 for our Dex, and the average damage right now is 5.81 plus the 10-foot push. And that's all we get. All right, now for second level, we're taking fighter. And the only things that change is we get action surge and tactical mind. So let's take a look at that. Action surge and tactical mind on the fighter. So action surge gives us an additional action that cannot be used for the magic action, but it can be used for anything else. And once we use this, we can get it again as a short rest. Starting at 17th level, we can use it twice, but we're not going to be 17th level. And then we get Tactical Mind, which allows us to essentially redo an ability check. And then, rather than regaining hit points and adding the number rolled to the ability, you can use your second wind to do that. So right now, we can do that twice. All right. So, and if we fail, the second wind is not used, which is great. So it's just a little kind of bump to those type of things. Our damage and our to-hit bonus do not change. Okay, at third level, we are taking our subclass as a fighter, which is Battle Master. We get 4 superiority dice for maneuvers, and we're taking the pushing attack, the menacing attack, and the goading attack. So let's take a very quick look at that. Here is the Battle Master. So we get the maneuvers, we get 3 maneuvers, we get the 4d8 superiority dice, and right now our saving throw for these is, I believe it's like a 13. It is an 8 plus our dex modifier, so that's 11 plus another 2, so it's 13. Okay, and we took the pushing attack, menacing attack, and goading attack. So let's look at those. Pushing attack. Here is pushing attack. So when you hit with an attack roll, you expend a die. You do extra damage. If the target is large or smaller, it must succeed on a strength saving throw or be pushed back 15 feet. That's good. Plus, we hit them with a heavy crossbow, which means they are going to be pushed back 25 feet, which is really good. And this says using a weapon. It doesn't say a melee weapon. It just says a weapon, which is a heavy crossbow. We took menacing attack. I like this one a lot. So when you hit a creature with an attack roll, you use the die, you do the extra damage. They got to make a wisdom save or they're frightened, which is an awesome ability. And then we got goading attack. When you hit a creature with an attack roll, you expend a superiority die, you do the damage, and they have to make a wisdom saving throw, or they have disadvantage on attack rolls against targets other than you until the end of your next turn. And that's great because we are using a crossbow. And if we look over here at the range of a crossbow, it is 100 and 400, which means we could be up to 100 feet from this thing. And we hit it, we goad it with a superiority die, and then it's pushed back even more, and it's got to get up to us to get a regular to hit roll. So it is not going to get that at all. So, it is what it is, but that's a really good thing. We can push them, we can menace them, or we could goad them. So there's our damage. The damage did go up because we added a superiority die to the average damage. So that went up to 8.95 plus the push. And then I forgot to put in here, it is also plus a maneuver. Okay, 4th level, we're taking our first level of Ranger. Now, the reason I want to take some Ranger stuff is I want Hunter's Mark for the damage, and I want some of these spells for the extra maneuverability and the defense and some of the utility. I also want to take a particular subclass, which is going to give me some more bonuses to damage. So, we get spell casting, which is a DC 11. We take favorite enemy, which is we can use Hunter's Mark. Well, let's take a look at it. We've got the Ranger right here. We get all this. We don't get all that stuff. We get some of that stuff. And then we get the favorite enemy. Now, they changed favorite enemy completely. So now favorite enemy is connected to Hunter's Mark. You always have Hunter's Mark prepared. You can use it twice without expending a spell slot. You regain all expended uses of this ability when you finish a long rest, and the number of times you can cast this spell without using a spell slot increases when you reach certain Ranger levels. We're not going to get to those levels, so that's it. We get some more weapon masteries. Getting all of these weapon masteries, you're going to have a character that is going to concentrate on 1 or 2 weapons, and then beyond that, they're never going to use any of these other weapons. So I could care less about this. But we did get some extra weapon masteries. So we took hand axe and light crossbow. And so just in case, hand axe is way up here, and it has the Vex. I like the Vex, so we get advantage. And we took the light crossbow, which has slow, which reduces speed by 10 feet. So those are all good. I mean, those are good reasons to do things. And our damage goes up because we add Hunter's Mark now to the damage. We're adding a +1 heavy crossbow. So now our bonus to hit is a +8. And the average damage we're doing is a 12.92 plus the push plus a maneuver. And so it's starting to go up quite a bit. And then the spells that we took Absorb Elements, Hunter's Mark, and Longstrider. We only get 2 spells at this. So we want Absorb Elements just for the utility, in case we get hit by a fireball or a dragon's breath, and we can minimize that damage to us. And Longstrider, who doesn't want to have an hour's worth of extra movement? All right, next level. 5th level, proficiency bonus is going up. We're taking Ranger 2. So our AC is going up because we are getting +1 studded leather, I believe. And then I put our maneuver DC on here, which is 14, because our proficiency bonus went up. We get Deft Explorer and Fighting Defense. That's why our AC went up. We have Fighting Defense, which adds a +1. So if we look over at the Ranger again, we are getting Deft Explorer. So we have Expertise. Choose one of your skills with which you lack expertise. You gain expertise. And I believe that we pick Stealth. We did pick stealth on here. I didn't put that in there. And then we get 2 languages of our choice. That's okay. It used to be this natural explorer thing. That's basically all gone. And then we got a fighting style, so we took defensive, which gives us a +1 to our defenses. We added Goodberry to our spell list, and essentially our damage has changed a little bit because our proficiency bonus went up. So it's up to a 13.8 plus a push plus a maneuver. We're still only getting 1 attack. And we're still basically only getting 1 attack every other turn. And that is because the crossbow has the loading ability. So we haven't gotten to the point where we want to get to, which is going to be crossbow expert. Well, we're getting there. At 6th level, we're going to Ranger 3. And we're taking our Ranger subclass, which is going to be Hunter. So we get Hunter's Lore and Colossal Slayer. And then we are adding Jump to our list of spells as well. So let's take a look at that. And this is our last level of Ranger. So here's Hunter's Lore. So you can call on the forces of nature to reveal certain strengths and weaknesses of your prey. While a creature is marked by your Hunter's Mark, you know where that creature, whether that creature has immunities, resistances, or vulnerabilities, and if that creature has any, you know what they are. So that is actually pretty awesome. I like that a lot. And then we get Hunter's Prey, and we can choose one of these that we want whenever we finish a short rest. So we have Colossal Slayer in here right now, which means when we hit a target that has had some damage done to it, we get an extra D8 damage. They can only take this damage once per turn. We could choose Hordebreaker if we were fighting more than 1 creature, and if we were, I would actually choose Hordebreaker if I knew that was going to happen. So once on each of your turns, when you make an attack with a weapon, you can make another attack with the same weapon against a different creature that is within 5 feet of the original target. That is within the weapon's range, and that you have an attack this turn. So, got 2 guys next to each other going after my tank in the group. So we're going to use Hordebreaker at that point. Otherwise, we'll use Colossal Slayer. And that has been put into the damage here, so our damage goes up a little bit. We're up to 17.4 damage against an AC of 15, plus a push, plus a maneuver. Again, every other turn, unfortunately, because of the loading property. Now, we could have multiple heavy crossbows, and we could take one out, and that would kind of alleviate that. Okay, 7th level, we're taking 4th level fighter, and our dex is going to 18 because we are taking crossbow expert. So this is the big feat that you want for this. And then we get another weapon mastery. So we took the flail and we get sap. And then our spells haven't changed. So let's take a look at that particular feat. Crossbow expert. There it is right there. And we get a bump to one of our scores. So that's our dex. We ignore the loading property of the hand crossbow, heavy crossbow, and light crossbow, all called crossbows elsewhere in this feat. If you're holding one of them, you can load a piece of ammunition into it even if you lack a free hand. So now we can attack every single turn with our heavy crossbow. Being within 5 feet of an enemy does not impose disadvantage. And dual wielding, we're not really going to worry about this. We're using a heavy crossbow. Both of our hands have to be there for that one. So that is the thing now that allows us to make 2 attacks a round. All right, our damage has changed. We're at a +10 to hit now. And we've got a D10 for the crossbow. We've got a D8 for the Colossal Slayer. We've got another D8 for a superiority die. And we've got a D6 for the mark, Hunter's Mark. And we're doing an extra 5 damage. So on average, we're doing 19.3 damage against an AC of 15. And we get a push and a maneuver. So that is pretty cool. All right, 8th level, taking another, pretty much we're taking fighter from here on out. So at 5th level fighter, we get an extra attack, and we get tactical shift. Now, what is tactical shift? And that's not a bad little ability. So let's go back up here to the fighter class and go down here to tactical shift. So whenever you attack with a weapon whenever you activate your second wind with a bonus action, you can also move up to half your speed without provoking opportunity attacks. That is pretty awesome. That's just a little extra bit of maneuverability and utility. I'm all for it. The extra attack is the big thing. And now that we are a crossbow expert, we do not need to worry about the loading property anymore whatsoever at all. So our damage is going to go up quite a bit. So if we look at the level before this, it's 19.3, and now it is 34.11 because we get an extra attack. So that is going down. If you look very carefully, it's a D10 for the heavy crossbow, a D8 for Colossal Slayer, a D8 for a superiority die, a D6 for Hunter's Mark, and a +5. But the extra attack does not get the Colossal Slayer. So it gets a D10 for the crossbow, a D8 if we choose to use, which we are here, a D8 if we choose to use another superiority die. Remember, we have 4 of those. And a D6 for Hunter's Mark, because Hunter's Mark works on every single attack. And then the same bonus to damage. So now we do 34.11. We're attacking twice, so we get 2 pushes. And because we're going to use 2 superiority dice, we get 2 maneuvers. So we could knock them down, or we could push them back even further, or we could goad them, or menace them, or any combination of the 2 of those things. All right, 9th level. Taking another level fighter, we're fighter level 6. Our proficiency bonus goes to +4. We are adding +1 studded leather, which means our AC goes to 19. Now, our dex had gone up prior, so our dex, our AC has gone up quite a bit. And because it's fighter level 6, we get another choice of either a feat or an attribute bump. We are bumping our attribute up to dex of 20. So our maneuver DC goes up to 17, which is really good. That's basically where we wanted it at this level, at 9th level. Our AC's okay, but we're going to be far away from everything. We are upgrading to a +2 heavy crossbow. And so that changes our damage quite a bit. We're at a +13 to hit now. So remember, our dex went up, and our proficiency bonus went up, and our crossbow went up. So all that stuff goes up. And then because our dex and our crossbow went up, we get more damage. Now we're going from a 34 damage to a 44.81 plus 2 pushes and 2 maneuvers, which is just awesome. All right, 10th level. We are a fighter 7. And at this level, we get some stuff from our fighter subclass, which is the Battle Master. So we get an extra superiority die. We get Know Your Enemy. And we get a couple of more maneuvers, which we're taking maneuvering attack and disarming attack. So let's take a look at all that stuff, because that stuff is all brand new. Okay, Battle Master. Here we are. So we get Know Your Enemy as a bonus action. And we're really not using our bonus action for very much beyond the first round, because that's what Hunter's Mark is. And then after that, we got a free bonus action to use, so we could be using this. So as a bonus action, you can discern certain strengths and weaknesses of creatures you can see within 30 feet of you. You know whether that creature has immunities, resistance, or vulnerabilities, and if any creature has, you know what they are. Once you use this feature, you cannot do so until you finish a long rest. Okay, that's great. You can also restore the use of this by expending a superiority die, which we are not going to use. And then we got a couple of extra maneuvers. So we got, which maneuvers did we get here? We got maneuvering attack and disarming attack. So let's take a look at those. Disarming attack, obviously, strength saving throw, does an extra die of damage, and they have to drop what they're holding. And then we also got maneuvering attack, which is like a teamwork ability. So we hit, we do the die, we do the extra damage, and we choose a willing creature that we can see, or that can see us or hear us, and they get to use their reaction to move up to half their speed without provoking an attack of opportunity, which is really important. So if somebody's in trouble, we can hit the guy next to them, and then we can use the maneuvering attack and allow them to get away. So those are important things. And we're still at 44.81 damage with 2 pushes and 2 maneuvers for our damage in the round. At 11th level, we are a fighter 8. We are adding +2 studded leather now. We're upgrading that, so now our AC is a 20. And we are adding Great Weapon Master. That does not sound like it goes with a heavy crossbow, but because a heavy crossbow right here is heavy, it has the and that's the reason why we have a 13 strength, by the way. We have to have it. So and a very high dex. No. So it does have heavy, and because of that, we are going to Great Weapon Master here. And here it is. And we are bumping our strength up 1 because we have to. And then when you hit a creature with a weapon that has the heavy property as part of the attack action on your turn, you can cause the weapon to deal extra damage to the target. The extra damage equals your proficiency bonus, which is +4 at this point, and that's every attack in the attack action when you hit. So we get 2 attacks during our attack action. If we hit twice, it happens twice. The crossbow has the heavy property, so we get to add all that juicy extra damage. In addition, we have Hew. Immediately after you score a critical hit with a melee weapon, so this is not going to work with the crossbow, or reduce a creature to 0. So if we reduce something to 0 with the crossbow, this will work with 1. I'm sorry, with 1. So they should have kind of worded that a little bit better. So this is if we're using our longsword, essentially. You can make 1 attack with the same weapon as a bonus action. I don't care about Hew. What we really want is we want that heavy weapon mastery ability. And what does that do for our build? Well, our damage went from a +7 to a +11 because of that. And now our average damage goes from a 44 to a 52 with the 2 pushes and the 2 maneuvers. So there we go. All right. So 12th level, we are a fighter 9. And we get Indomitable and Tactical Master. Our damage doesn't really change. But what do those abilities do as a fighter? Indomitable. Indomitable gives us, here it is right here. On a failing save, you can re-roll it with a bonus equal to your fighter level. You must use the new roll, and you cannot use this as a feature until you finish a long rest. And then we could use this. We are going to get to 13th level, so we'll get it twice. So this is basically a freebie roll. And we get Tactical Master. When you attack with a weapon whose mastery property you can use, you can replace that property with the push, sap, or slow. So we could push them, and then we could slow them. Because we're getting 2 attacks around, and we haven't talked about Action Surge yet at all. We could sap them, too, which gives them disadvantage on their next attack. So there's a lot of different stuff. So now we can kind of mix and match some of these weapon masteries with the maneuvers and the pushes that we're doing, because we're getting pushes from, the crossbow when we want them. Damage hasn't changed, though. All right, at 13th level, we're taking another level of fighter, so we're fighter 10. Our proficiency goes up to +5. We're upgrading our studded leather armor to +3, which gives us a 21 AC. Our maneuver DC goes up to an 18. We get a couple of more maneuvers, so we're taking distracting attack and precision attack. We get another weapon mastery, so I took whip for the slow. Our superiority die goes to D10, which is awesome. And we get Cloak of the Bat. So we got 5 D10. We got Cloak of the Bat, so we can fly if we need to. Helps us a little bit with being in the dark and all that. And then we upgrade our Heavy Crossbow to a +3. So what is distracting and precision attack? So let's go back down to the Battle Master. We've got distracting. Here it is right here. So when we hit, we do the die, we do the damage, and the next attack roll against the target has advantage. So it's kind of like a mini cleric spell. And then we get precision attack. When you miss with an attack roll, you can expend a superiority die, roll that die, and add it to the attack. So just in case, kind of a utility panic button, we can use that, and we can hit. Now our damage is a 58.21, which went up a little bit because our heavy crossbow changed, and the superiority dice changed. Okay, level 14, we are taking another fighter level. We're level 11. We're getting 2 extra attacks now with every attack action. We are adding a Ring of Spell Storing, so I can put, absorb elements and other things in there. We're going to read a Tomb of Understanding to raise our wisdom to a 15. And our damage goes up a lot because we get this extra attack. It goes up to 85.07, and we get 3 pushes and 3 maneuvers. If we're using maneuver dice, we have 5 dice, which we're going to be using. So that is pretty awesome. All right, at 15th level, we are taking middle level fighter, so we're fighter 12. We get a feat or an attribute bump. We are taking Mage Slayer. We're adding that to a strength. We're not going to be really using our strength so much, but it is what it is. We are getting the Blood Fury tattoo. So what is that thing? If you didn't know, now you know. So let's go all the way up, and we're going to go to magic items, and we are going to go type in here blood. Just going to type in blood, and it should go to Blood Fury tattoo. There it is right there. Here it is. It is a legendary item. We attune to it, and when the attunement is complete, the needle that we use turns the ink into a tattoo that appears on the skin. If your attunement to the tattoo ends, the tattoo vanishes. It gives you bloodthirsty strikes. It has 10 charges, regains all expended charges at dawn. While this tattoo is on your skin, you gain the following benefits. When you hit a creature with a weapon attack, you can expend, not a melee weapon, not a ranged weapon, but a weapon attack. You can expend a charge to deal an extra 4d6 necrotic damage to the target and regain a number of hit points equal to the necrotic damage dealt. When a creature you can see damages you, you can expend a charge and use your reaction, which we're not really using a whole lot right now, to make a melee attack against the creature with advantage. That we're going to have a hard time doing that because we've got a crossbow. Really, we want this one for this first one to do this extra 4d6 damage. And there it is right there. And we're also adding 20 plus 2 bolts. The bolts turn non-magical when they hit. Not when you use them, but when they hit. So that gives us an extra plus 2 to hit and an extra plus 2 to damage. So now our damage is all the way up because of the Blood Fury tattoo and the bolts to 132.77 with 3 pushes and 3 maneuvers. Just massive. At 16th level, we are a 13th level fighter. We get Indomitable times 2, so we get an extra Indomitable, meaning we can reroll a saving throw, which is awesome. And we get Studied Attacks. So what is Studied Attacks? Here it is right here. Studied Attacks is right here. You study your opponent and learn from each attack you make. If you make an attack roll against a creature and miss, you have advantage on your next attack against that creature before the end of your next turn. No limit on how often we can use that. So that just bumps our ability to do crits up pretty massively. Alternatively, you could use a elf with elven accuracy in this as well, instead of a Goliath with all the stuff that I took for the Goliath. Our damage doesn't really change. Still 132.77. We've still got 3 pushes, 3 maneuvers. I have not factored in a Nova round for this. It's way too complicated for this, but you can imagine how much extra damage this guy's going to do with that action surge and possibly a potion of speed on top of all this. Now, we are limited to 5 maneuver dice. So that is only, if we were to do action surge, that would be 6 attacks. And then with a potion of speed, that would be an extra attack for 7. Out of those 7 attacks, we could only use 5 maneuver dice. The Blood Fury would work fine for that, but it would pretty much be done for the day. And the Hunter's Mark works for all of it. So, but, I mean, the amount of damage and maneuvers and pushes that you could do on something is tremendous. You may actually push them out of the first range of the crossbow itself doing all that. But you can imagine that that amount of damage with the action surge and a potion of speed is probably somewhere close to 200 points of damage in a round. All right, that is what I have for everybody today. I appreciate everybody tuning in, and I will catch everybody later.